Self care is not intuitive. In fact, it goes against many of the things that we have learned about ourselves, things we were raised to believe about work, and ourselves in the world. I'm here to change that. I'm here to change the narrative and blow up the self care box. I'm your host, Desiree Rue, licensed clinical social worker, self care strategist, freelance writer, a lover, and a fighter. And I'm Self Cares AF. And this is Self Cares AF, the podcast. You ask me, and I answer the questions that get you out of the box and into the life that lights you up from the inside out. Hello. Hey, how are you? How's it going? Listen, how was your weekend? How's your week? What does it look like? Listen, I hope that you have had an opportunity to do some amazing things for yourself, even something small, even today, that you have had an opportunity to be self-carish AF for you. That is always my hope for you whenever we are together. And even when we're not, right? I'm always thinking about how can I help you to have some time for you, have a day where you are absolutely included in it and you included yourself. So that's why I'm here today. And again, my biggest wish for you is that you get that in for you. So I am doing well. I guess I'm always doing well. I know you like that's right. You always say that. I've had the best weekend. And I probably say that all the time too, because I always have a good weekend. I consider it a joy to be able to, whether I'm resting or I've gone out with friends or I've been watched some shows, which by the way, I have been watched 2 shows this weekend. My very best friend came into town for her bit of self-care because friendships are indeed your self care. Who you choose to spend your time with is so important because having relationships that you deserve and knowing that this is a person that brings value to you and knowing that this is a person who um, fills your cup doesn't necessarily take always is taking something, but often leaves things with you is an act of self-care for yourself to put yourself in those spaces and to nurture relationships like that. And the person, my best friend, one of my best friends, because I'm blessed to have more than one. Her name is Felicia, and she is an amazing woman, educator, mother, uh, sorority sister. Like she's all the things to me. And we realized as we were just kind of hanging out this weekend that we have known each other through reiterations of our lives. We met in our late 20s, early 30s. And here we are, a couple of decades later. We have raised our children together. We were single mothers together. Um, gosh, we've grieved together, we've lost our parents together, like, we've really seen each other through times, and she still likes me, like, she's still my friend. Definitely, a person of value to me. I trust her words, they're always true. Um, I feel like I'm the oldest, but she's the oldest. She's the more mature one, the more responsible one, and I'm the one that's always in trouble and always has ideas and always trying to do things, and she keeps me um on my straight and narrow path. And I can't imagine life without her at this point. So I was just so happy and honored to have her the weekend. She lives on the East Coast. So whenever I have company here in California, we hit the beach and we just be still because that's literally what I do. People think that I'm all over the place all the time. I know you have this wonderful life. You travel so much. You're always out at restaurants. You're always doing things. And I am, but I also rest. And I also take time to just be still because you can hear in your stillness. And taking time with yourself is a gift. And also, it's a learned tool. And I've learned to do that. So, today, if you have a friend that has loved you through all your evolutions, who has been solid and true, who you can count on, who supports your dreams, even when they seemingly are so far above the clouds. Um, Call that person today and let them know how much they mean to you, because relationships are to be nurtured. Relationships are deserved, good ones. And when you choose someone to be your friend and to be a friend too, you are not only honoring them, but you're honoring yourself. That is truly self care. Again, self care is not just massages and doing things, but it is that intentional love that you have for yourself. And that includes who you allow into your life in a way that nurtures you. So I'm blessed because I've had a good weekend hanging out, watching TV, literally sitting on the sofa, eating all of the bad foods with all of the, additives and everything else. I've probably gained 10 pounds, but I love nurturing that friendship. And we are now in our fifth decade of life. And it's just so amazing to continue to grow with her. As she's growing as a person, and so am I. And we're still growing together, and our friendship is still deep. So I had a great weekend, and I have an amazing week ahead, right? Every week is amazing. I know I say that. I say that every time because I got things coming up, and things to celebrate, and things I'm looking forward to, and I get to do the work that I love. So I'm good. I hope you're good. That was the whole point. That was the whole point in the question. But for real, if you have a person in your life or persons, text them today and just be like, I appreciate you and our friendship, and thank you. Hit them up. Do that for you. Because again, what we feel on the inside is the thing that we pour on the outside. And when we can love from abundance versus scarcity, it's the best kind of love. And when we have love for ourselves from abundance versus scarcity, it's the best kind of love. So I hope you get you some today and express some today. Like I really do. I really do. So what are we going to be discussing today? Well, we've been coming off of talking about self-care and life work balance. Um, and so today I thought actually that I would share a couple of questions that have come up again to me, and that people have asked me. And so I thought, like, you know what? I'm going to answer that question here with you today. So, I have been hosting a live masterclass. That's right. What's a masterclass? Well, a masterclass is a very high level, sort of short course. Typically they're not more than about 90 minutes long, where someone is teaching you some steps to something, but in a very high level way. And so in my masterclass, it is called Finding Balance in the Chaos, Navigating Burnout, Stress, and Self Care. And in that masterclass, I share my story, who I am, which I've shared with you. I've shared my story, how I started my own self care journey. And I talk about the framework, Self Care AF, what it is, how I came to it, how I started the research into it, and how I implemented it in my own life. And then at the end of that masterclass, I then talk about a course that I'm teaching, that is actually more of an in-depth or a deeper dive into getting a person from A to B, the point to where they are now in their self-care journey, to a point to where they want to be, really living unapologetically, living without guilt, and doing doing life as they curate it, without doing things that are just expected, right? And so I've been doing that. I have another one upcoming soon, and I'll put that information if you'd like to join in the masterclass, which is free, or you have an interest in the course, which is a paid course. Um, I'll put that information in the notes for you. But I invited everybody. So if you are following me in any way on any of my social media, LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, like, you got an invitation, you saw it, the invitation to come to this masterclass. And so I invited lots of people I work with, friends, family, and then people through social media. So we had a really good gathering for the very first one. And following that master class, I had someone to ask me, not in the class itself, but just in a post conversation, because I like talking, right? So I'm always inviting conversation. And the person said to me, it was a younger professional, just getting started in her career. And she asked me, or she said, as I was um, reviewing the master class, because you do get um, access to the replay, right? So you get to look at it for another 7 days after the class. She said, I was listening at your story and watching you, all the things that you have done, all of your running and, you know, um, running on the Great Wall of China. And it was just so, I was just so inspired to see a person that looks like me and have a similar background to me, be able to do such amazing things and live a life that's just selfless. How do you do that? I've been I don't feel that I've ever lived a life that's been selfless. I'm always doing for others. My family, my brothers, my sisters, my parents, even in my work, I'm always doing for others. And I don't know how to do for my like how do you do it? Cuz I was watching it and I was like, I want that. I want to be like that. I want to have a life that I'm still doing really important things, but I'm still doing the things that I want to do. And I'm just now starting, I have a friend and, I don't want to do the things that she wants me to do anymore. She's always like, you never available. Like, so how do you do it? And I thought that was such a great question because that is, I think many people struggle with this type of thing where you're trying to make a change. You are changing and evolving. And that evolution often includes cutting people out. Only the true things will stick, and the things that aren't really true to you will fall away, including those friendships, which is why it's so important to celebrate the friendships that you have. And so this is what I share with her. So I'm going to tell you what I told her because it was good. It was good. I said it, I meant it. So I'm going to tell you, what did I say? So what I told her was this, that in my journey, there were two things that I knew or I had to um, acknowledge for myself, right? One, that I could no longer be negotiated. That the time that I had decided to be with me, the time that I had decided to stop living by the expectations and definitions of others, the Desiree era, because I went through it where everything was a no. And actually, if you haven't listened to that first episode, do that because I really talk through this and share a little bit more. But when I was going through my me era, my no, I don't want to. I'm only doing the things I want to do. I never, I just decided I was not going to negotiate that time with myself. So it couldn't be negotiated. Though the only people who tried to take it were the people who were never interested in me in the first place. They didn't have my best interests at heart. They only had theirs. That's why they kept asking me, even though I was saying no, or expecting it, or using emotional blackmail, or wording that would make me feel guilty because in the past those things would work, but they no longer worked. And so that was the first thing. And the second thing is that I had to recognize I may lose some people. That people, I may be lonely for a minute, misunderstood. Again, because when you change, everything around you changes too. And those people that are self interested are losing something. They're losing something from you, right? And they will do what's needed to keep it. But I had to recognize it. So people were going to say, oh, you don't want anybody to come along with you? No. Oh, you acting funny because you being different. And I am being different. Acting funny was what I was doing. But I had to understand that that was going to be a part of the process. And Luckily, I didn't let that deter me because I had the non-negotiable first. That I wasn't giving away my time. No one was going to take it. Anything that I did, I was going to do because I wanted to, not because of emotional blackmail, not because it was expected of me, not because someone else wasn't going to do it. Because what I learned that when I stopped doing all the things that I thought no one else was going to do, if I didn't do it, it was getting done, right? It was getting done every time. So once I made that non negotiable, going through that period of what I would say of misunderstanding was tolerable. And what ended up happening is that on the other side of that, after people saw how I was treating me, people saw that I wasn't negotiating my time, guess what? They fell in line. They stopped asking me. They stopped expecting of me. They stopped pulling on me. Then they started to see me. Then they became inspired by me. And then they wanted to duplicate me, taking care of myself, doing the things. And so that is what I shared with her, that you may be going through that period. Know that everyone isn't as evolved as you are moving into. And oftentimes we see that a little bit too, like as a therapist, when you are working with someone and you are working with them on creating healthy changes for themselves, whether it's in their decisions or how they treat others, or just even an awareness or being insightful. What makes that difficult is if the things around them aren't changing. So you have to prepare them to do these things in the chaos, because the chaos is a part of the rubric that they cannot control. And so oftentimes that's why we see make what's difficult about progress for ourselves is when people around us aren't changing. But we have to know that that's a part of the process for us. When we decide to make change, it is going to impact other people. But you have to have that non-negotiable stance. I'm not negotiating me. Think about even when you've tried to change like what you eat. When you no longer are drinking whole milk and now you have almond milk and you're buying your almond milk or your oat milk and you're still buying, regular milk for everyone else. How difficult, even though they have what they need, they still want you to have what they want because that's easier for them. And how much of a struggle that is, right? To hold on to, I'm not drinking that milk because I'm trying to make a change. It's a part of the process. We have to embrace that part of the process and be prepared for it by having those non-negotiables. So that's how I did it. Being brave to be misunderstood because I know why I was doing those things. I know that I needed to not be there. So if that is something that's happening to you, like you're wanting to make change, and I hope our time together is sparking some changes in you because I need you to have some changes. I need you to have some small self-care ideas and some big self-care ideas too. And so if even those small changes make you a little leery because you're thinking, you know, if I take time away from me, then I'm taking time away from this other thing, this other person. And they're not going to like that. And they're not going to do that. Or they're going to have a problem with that. So they're going to see me as differently. And I don't want to be seen as not being helpful or not being relevant or being disrespectful. Embrace that that is a part of the change. And that on the other side of that is understanding for you. People will always treat you the way you teach them to. So when we override our own decisions and we allow, we override. Overriding is different than pivoting. It's different than changing your mind because you do have the power to change your mind, right? And should be flexible, right? We should be able to take in new information and then decide, okay, this is what I was thinking, but now I got this new information. I see this other perspective. Yeah, I could change my mind. Changing your mind is your right. And it is also being self-care-ish AF. So I think it's important to understand that unless you decide to give it, to make it a non-negotiable that it won't be taken. Because if people see you negotiating with your time, then they will understand that your time is negotiable to whichever way they want to use it. Does that mean I'm mean? Absolutely not. Because when we can give from the abundance of ourselves, we give the best of ourselves. When we give from the lack and scarcity and fear, I want to do it because I don't want them to be mad. That's coming from a fearful space. I'm going to do it because I want to. Comes from love and caring. That's where we want to be, right? That's the center that we want to be standing on. At least I think so. Hey, maybe you want to come from a place of scarcity and lack. Maybe that's what you like. Hey, I'm not here to take anything away from you that you like. But if that really isn't the mindset that's working for you, you do have the right to change it. And there's plenty of reasons why we get there. Many of us have lived experiences with trauma in our backgrounds, and trauma as we define it, not as, oh, we were in a building fire and lost our home, or we were homeless, because that is the story for many. And for others, trauma could simply be not being seen, not being able to, maybe all of your needs were met and you didn't grow up hungry and you had both of your parents, but maybe you didn't feel seen. Or maybe you didn't feel heard. And that's a traumatic experience. They leave painful points in your life. So, we all come to this conversation differently. And that can also be a barrier to how we love ourselves because those pain points take the foundation for how we make our decisions. So I didn't really, well, did I think I did kind of, say these things because me, once I get started, I can't stop. So I'm sure I went even more in depth in saying, but what I really wanted her to know was that she deserved to pay attention to what she was feeling in her body and in her mind that she needed, but also be prepared to be misunderstood. And that both things can be true at the same time. You can be doing things for yourself and you still can be honoring the spaces for others, even when they are um, disappointed in you because they turn around. Because when they see you like, oh, that's her, that's what they respond to. But if you're always giving in, all they have to do is smile or ask 3 times. You said no 2 times. They're going to ask again. They will learn that your no means no when your no means no. They will learn that your time is important when you take important time. So we teach others how to treat us by the way we treat ourselves and what we show them. So don't negotiate your time. So that was one question that was asked of me. And I thought it was, I said it was, it's a universal thing. No matter where you are, how old you are, where you are in your profession or in your life, whenever you try to make a change, those who are not that evolved will be impacted by it from a self-interest perspective and may try to get you back to their side because that's when it was working really, really well for them. Know that. Understand that. Be prepared for that by sticking to your non-negotiable. You know why you need that time. You know why you need rest. You know why you need fun. You know why you no longer want to go to that place or do those things because you're evolving and you're not that person anymore. You're moving to a new person. So I truly believe, I talked about my friend in the beginning, friendship circles are so important. It is important to have a tribe of people, not just like you, like gonna agree with everything you say, you know. No, because sometimes you need to be told different. I don't even know you, but I know that you need that. Okay. Like we all need it. Sometimes we need someone to really, challenge us because challenges make us think, helps us to, if you can't justify your position with real data, facts, not as much emotion, then maybe that's not really the position for you, right? You should be able to justify yourself in some things. And I'm not talking about your self-care, but just in the things you feel like you're being challenged about. But having friends that will support you, even if they aren't evolved, but they support you in your evolution, whatever you're trying to do different, is so important. Research tells us that working in groups not only helps us in our accountability, but it also um, helps us in being able to overcome barriers. That's why support is so important. And then when I say working in a group, I don't mean actually working in a group. I'm more meaning having a group of people around you. Um, and so if you are making a change to healthier you, doing things differently, living differently, you want to find people who are doing that as well because it makes you feel less alone. It gives you someone who maybe they're where you are or they've already overcome the place that you're in. They can help you along. Um, and having a community that supports your self care is important because we don't always have that. But again, people aren't evolved. They haven't gotten to the place where they're doing it for themselves, so they can't see it for you. But it doesn't make it less true for you. So I guess I'm leading into telling you that I'm kind of building a community and I'm going to invite you to it. And the community is called the Loving Me Tribe. I love that name because in this community, that's what it's all about. Our goal is to literally be as selfish as possible because we want to normalize that. Self-care is not selfish. Selfish is probably one of the best things that we can be. Thinking about ourselves. I want a badge of honor for being selfish. Is there any awards out there? Please nominate me. I want one. I'm self-care-ish AF. She's the most selfish person I know who gives from love, her own self-love. But I'm building a community and it's called the Loving Me Tribe. And it's sort of like a Facebook group, but it's not a Facebook group because in this community, we're able to interact with each other. You're celebrating everything, all the things that you were doing, big or small, whether it was you threw some shoes that was hurting your feet in the trash because they were hurting your feet. You walked barefoot and you did that for you and you loved everything about that moment. We're celebrating. You liked it. We loving it. Okay. But also in this community, I'm able to teach these courses like the master class and my Recharge and Thrive course. So it's a nice combination, but my heart's desire is to build this community so that we begin to normalize this self-care conversation and disrupt all these traditional ideas that we are living under and being under and making our decisions under and we are unlearning and fighting through every day. So I'm going to put an invitation to that for you in the notes and please join us. Let's like overcome so that there's a place as your friends are evolving from watching your journey, you have a place of people who are already there, so that you can be inspired by and you know that you're supported. So I really want to invite you to that. Come on over. It's like I'm having a party. I'm inviting you to it. It's free. Come on through. You don't have to bring anything. You don't have to do anything. You just show up, right? You can even stand on the wall and watch us. But we're going to be in there being completely selfish. That's the goal. Because that's a community I didn't have. And I suffered through that loneliness, that being misunderstood until people started to see that I was 10 toes down from myself and that they couldn't move me. And so they started treating me differently, which allowed me to treat them differently, right? So I'm going to invite you to that, but that just kind of came to my mind. I was going to invite you anyway, like I really was, but that it just as we were talking, it just sort of came to my mind to do right now. So that's a question that I was asked. And listen, if you have a question for me, or a question around self care journeys, if you have a story to tell about the barriers that you're feeling, let me know. connect with me. You know I love talking to you. And so I want to know those things. I want to be able to answer those questions. And we learn together and we grow together and we take this journey together because when you evolve, people are watching. Someone else is going to be evolved. We're breaking generational curses. I'm going to tell you this story. One of many. Get prepared because I always have a Xavier story, which is my grandson. He is he'll be 5 soon, and he's just he's a trip. Like if you're a grandparent or a auntie or friend of or a parent of a 5-year-old, you already know they just a whole trip, right? And so recently he graduated from pre kindergarten, and his pre kindergarten celebration was longer than my master's degree uh, graduation. Okay. It was 3 hours long. My God. For a 5-year old, like we were suffering as adults, but the kids were really suffering. So he went to sleep. He sat up there on that stage and he got nice and comfortable in his chair and he went to sleep. And I was watching him thinking, he is definitely made for me because we love some sleep. Listen, love to sleep. And so he's sitting up in the chair. He's sleeping, not bothering nobody. The little girl next to him telling him, Xavier, wake up. Because I can see he's saying, leave me alone. She's saying, wake up. Because, ladies, we always going to try to tell our friends right. So afterwards, he and I were having our, little conversation. And our grandma is what he calls me, and Oba is what I call him. It's West African for king, and I tell him all the time he's my king. So we're having Grandma Oba conversation, and I say, well, Oba, you're not going to be able to you're going to kindergarten. You have to be awake. Like you got to be up. You can't be going to sleep in the middle of the day. He say, looked at me. He say, Grandma, if I'm sleepy, I'm going to sleep. I said, you can't just go to sleep. He said, Grandma, if I'm sleepy, I'm going to sleep. And I said, okay. Because what I love most about that conversation was that he said, if I need to go to sleep, I am going to do the thing that I need. And already at 5 years old, I feel like we are breaking a generational curse to believe. And here I am trying to instill, you got, you're sitting on the stage, you have to be awake or wherever you are. You're going to have to extend, there's no more naps. You're growing up. And he's telling me, Grandma, if it's something I need, I'm going to give it to myself. And then reminded me, remember when I was at the Y school, because he went to the YMCA for summer camp and they couldn't find him because the brother was asleep. He found a place to be and he laid down and rested his eyes. So apparently we really like to sleep in this family. But when he said, remember when I was asleep at the Y school? Yeah, when I'm sleepy, I'm going to sleep. So I love the fact that, we are breaking generational curses. His father, my son, is a social worker. And we talk often about creating opportunities for yourself every day. And I'm always asking him, what did you do for yourself today? You do a lot for your clients. You do a lot for your family. What'd you do for you? And so he's always able to tell me. And I feel that I am not the person today that he grew up with. And I really raised him on a lot of the beliefs that I had because I passed down the things that I learned about work and self. But he was also around for the journey. He's here now. And I'm able to impact him in his young professional career as a social worker to be able to ensure that every day he is focused on him in some way so that he can be the best he can be. So you can begin to break some of the generational curses that you're living in, that you have exemplified simply because you didn't know. So I'm hoping that you've gotten something out of our conversation today. What generational curse around your time, around expectations of you in work, or expectations in you of doing for others, are you still carrying? Even though they no longer really aligned with you, or you're starting to question them. I want you to think through those. Think about those. If your family was doing self-care the way that they saw you doing it, what would they be doing? Think about that. There's time to change, it's time to pivot, and it's time to change your mind. So that's the question that I have for you today. I hope you got something from the answer. If you have questions for me, let me know. And please, the invitation to joining the Loving Me tribe is open and extended. We'd love to have you. I'd love to see you as a part of this community because, listen, we are disrupting this entire self care conversation. Those traditional ideas, out of here. We're bringing in what's new and needed so that we can give out of the abundance of what we give to ourselves first. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate you being here. I hope that today's episode has sparked an idea or challenged a long held belief or just moved the needle a little closer to what you want. Let's stay connected. Visit my website, sign up for my newsletter, hit me up on Instagram at Desi Eats and Travels, and tag me when you are being self-care AF. I appreciate your time. Comment on this episode. You know your thoughts are important in these podcast streets. So like, comment, give me your feedback, and I will see you here again next week.